Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel, and as you can see on the screen right now, very excited to say we're taking a closer look at the new G.I. Joe Classified series Dreadnok Gnawgahyde with Porkbelly and Yobbo. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about the figures, about the set here. So if you're thinking about picking one up for yourself, then you'll have had a good, thorough overview to make a decision as to whether this is a good place for you to spend your money. So I'm going to give you a bit of a look at the packaging experience and the shelf presence experience of the set. Then we're going to take a look at the figures themselves, talk about the visual experience and the aesthetic qualities that are in there. Then we're going to take a look at the posability, so articulation, but also a bit of chat about what my experience has been over the last couple of days in terms of posing him up. And then finally, a rundown of all the accessories and added value to see if they really give us something of worth for our money. And by the end, you should be able to make a decision if you want to spend some money on this bad boy or not. So let's not dilly-dally around, let's get into it, and let's jump back to the day Gnawgahyde arrived, and I took a closer look at the packaging. Okay, folks, well, here is Gnawgahyde, Porkbelly and Yobbo in packaging. Apologies for those who enjoy the overhead unboxing experience. My camera bracket is busted at the moment and I need to figure out a repair or a replacement or an alternative method of filming the unboxing elements, but I still thought I'd take the time to take a look at the packaging nonetheless. So here we go, it's the new packaging design. We can see the Cobra logo there because he's a Cobra dude. G.I. Joe Classified, this new kind of black with the blue bits in it, motif in the colour scheme. The big main window showing off the figure and all the goodies as the main kind of shelf presence selling point, and then the name across the top there. We can see Gnawgahyde, Porkbelly, Yobbo, and all the additional goodies included with the fig. Then on the back here, we can see that he's 1, 2, 5 in the line. Got the big digital render artwork piece on the back there. Really pleased to see that they're keeping those up, because that's a part of the unboxing experience that I really enjoy is the artwork. A few breakaway windows here with some highlighted features like paint application tattoos, Porkbelly's nose ring, the jewellery that Gnawgahyde's got hanging off his chest. This is the import sticker here because I picked this up from a UK independent retailer who imports their stock from the East. Big shout out to Kapow Toys, and then all the legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. Here's the side here, got the data card there. We'll circle back round to that for a minute. Not going to do a G.I. Joe Classified review without the data card analysis. And then the QR code at the bottom. I've not zapped that in ages, don't know where it takes you. I got a bit fed up of looking at, random Peppa Pig stuff and what have you, so I don't bother with it anymore. But let's learn a bit more about Porkbelly. Let's learn a bit more about Gnawgahyde, shall we? So this first one here is a $sign over some bones. This is actually in acknowledgement of Gnawgahyde's history, his past, his legacy, because his family, his great-great-great-great-grandfather was a famous gravedigger who made a lot of money in Edinburgh back in the 17th century. So Gnawgahyde, obviously, very interested in his family tree, did the research, sent away for the stuff, got the pack, been online, travelled the world, finding out all about his heritage, and he was interested to find out that he has a famous gravedigger as a relative. Then we've got this kind of gun-shaped camera-y thing. This is a speed camera, like the police use, because Gnawgahyde's got a speeding problem. He's overwhelmed with speeding ticket debt and is actually largely wanted around the world for his speeding infractions than anything else. He manages to get away with the other stuff quite successfully because he's good at the old bush subterfuge, you know what I'm saying? Then we've got a big bag of money in a briefcase here. This is because Gnawgahyde, contrary to appearance, is actually a qualified finance analyst and has worked in many of the largest banks in the world. In fact, he actually became a tracker and a hunter as a result of the crash, the financial crash, which he in no way had any part to do with. And then finally, we've got this little paw symbol down the bottom here. So what Gnawgahyde likes to do, he likes to get his plaster of Paris out, and he's got a lovely collection of paw prints that he's plaster of Paris out of the ground, around and about when he's doing his trekking and hunting, and he's set it up on a nice little display in his house, in his man cave. So collects paw prints, which I think is really fascinating. On the other side of the package here, we've got the painted artwork that we've come to know and love with G.I. Joe Classified series packaging. This is wonderful. I think Yobbo looks great. Look at Yobbo there. Just like really giving it some with his eye patch on and everything. But wonderful piece of painted artwork. Okay, well, there's Gnawgahyde's packaging. I'm going to go away and get him unboxed off camera. camera. Apologies, folks. But I'm going to get him unboxed off camera, get some good hands-on playtime with him, get posing him up, get on the living room carpet, do some play, check him out in amongst some other G.I. Joes. I'm a bit nervous about this leg here. Can you see that? That's got me a bit nervous, the way that's twisted in there. But we'll see how it goes. But I'll crack him open, get hands-on, and come back and share some review thoughts with you. Some good quality hands-on review thoughts with you in a few moments' time. So stick around, because Future Chris will be back in 3, 2, 1. Okay then, folks, well, here is the bare Gnawgahyde, as it were, as he would have come immediately out of the packaging, without the hat and various embellishments that would add to the visual identity. And I've got to say up top, there's a lot to really super duper like about this figure with regards to the aesthetic qualities, to the visual experience, but then there's also a few bits that kind of let it down. So let's get into it, and let me point out some of the finer details and give you my view on this. Brought him a little bit nearer to the camera here, because the first thing I wanted to focus on was the head sculpt. And the head sculpt was decent, yeah, definitely up to the, well, almost up to the usual G.I. Joe Classified series standard. Nice facial features, some lovely little character touches. You can see like the bags under his eyes, the dark rings. I think that's really awesome, the sculpting around the eyes there. Got this lovely triple scar. Let's move it back a bit. Lovely triple scar across the top of his bald head there, as he's been getting into some fights and scrapes with his prey. We've got the paint application on the back of the serpent tattoo that's looping over his ear. And you can see there's a tiny little paint application, a little bit of a silver earring in the earlobe, which is nice. The sideburns and the stash, the little handlebar sideburny thing going on is lovely sculpted. The paint applications are relatively well applied as well. You can see the eyes, the eyebrows, you know, and there's some lovely kind of, I don't know what to call it. There's something in those eyes that I can't quite articulate. So drop down into the comments below, give me some vocab to describe what's going on with those eyes. So it's all nice. The bit that really lets it down, I suppose, well, not really, that's an over-exaggeration, but the paint application on the teeth make it come across a little bit goofy. It's actually amplified. It's a bit more accentuated right now under the lights here in my little kind of recording area. It's not so bad under sort of normal light in hand, and from certain angles, like if I bring it up a bit, you can see it's not quite as egregious, but they're very start white, and they could have done with a bit of a wash or something just to break it up. But overall, yeah, I love the head sculpt, and lots of little interesting kind of storytelling bits coming through just from the head alone. Moving further down into the figure, the top half looks great to me. Lots to enjoy there. I love the textured detail in his vest. I love the paint applications. You know, the is that a leopard print? The leopard print across there, and all the individual paint applications on the teeth, buckles, buttons that he's got there, and each of the little loopholes are all painted in, which is really nice to see. That motif is then continued. You can see around his wrist here, he's got a little bit more of that sculpted fur detail, individual paint applications for all the teeth on there. Same again with this little, what do you call these up here? Armband. Yeah, again, with all with the individual painted pieces, the like gauntletty piece he's got around here, the straps, each individual stud painted in. It's the same on the belt as well. We've got the painted in belt buckle, the painted grenades, and if I turn him around, that animal fur motif again continued into this nice sheath at the back with these little threads hanging down, and individual paint applications on these little claspy bits at the top. So lots of finer detail in there on that respect. And I'm really into that, all these finer detail pieces, these textural details, these kind of fabric textural details, and all the individual paint applications on the metal and the bone and stuff. Just, well, bone, teeth. Are teeth bones? No, they're not, are they? Are they? Any dentists out there? Can let me know in the comments. But all this extra detail, I just love. Really brings it to life, gives it some depth. Really enjoyable part of the visual experience of the figure. Gnawagahye's got a couple of tats as well. Once again, well applied paint applications, no decals here. This appears to be some like kind of skulled claw thing with a sword and an arrow, and is that a serpent in there? I can't tell. I can't quite decipher this one, but it looks cool. But the one I really like is this anarchy tattoo there on his top left shoulder in that very stark red. Really stands out. It really adds a bit of further personality. So he's covered in tats. So moving into the centre area here, just a few comments. So obviously the body sculpt is fine. This is reused torso stuff. Nipples present and correct. So we've seen the quality of the musculature before, but it's good. It's a little bit shiny. I think you can see it's probably a bit more shiny under the lights there, but a little bit shiny. But I wanted to mention these two necklaces, like the dog tag and this little kind of teeth collection here. Gotta say, I've been finding these bloody annoying. They don't drape on him very well. I've been trying to tuck them under the vest a little bit. I can see myself removing these. They've been getting in the way, and I've gone to take a bit of a photo with him and found like this is sort of sitting up a bit weird, or as I've placed him in the diorama, you know. So these are frustrating and twisted up and annoying, and I'm not a big fan of these. Moving down into legs, these are reuse. This is Roadblock, I think, off the top of my head, one of the earlier Roadblocks. So they've got the shin pads and the knee pad there. I mean, it's got some of the usual stuff. There's pockets, there's seams, there's creases, there's some texture detail, which is all nice and fine, and I'm a big fan of that. Obviously, some paint there on the knee pad. With the straps painted in black around the side. That's all good. Not a fan of these boots at all. In fact, his feet look disproportionate to the rest of the body, like he's got really tiny feet and makes him look a bit odd. So not into that. I'd have much preferred some of the chunkier style boots that were on, say, so Zartan and Shadow Tracker, they've got the same boots, haven't they? Or is Copperhead's boots the same as Zartan's? Whether they are or not, but they're bigger, chunkier kind of boots, which I think would have much better suited the aesthetic of the character. This reuse here is a bit of an issue. And I'm sure some of you have probably noticed as I've been moving him around, pinned limbs. He's got pinned elbows and pinned knees. Not a massive deal for me, but you know, in this day and age now, we're getting much more pinless stuff, and this does stand out when you've got him next to other more recent characters that are pin-free. Here's Porkbelly and Yobbo. I'm going to bring these in now to talk about the aesthetic experience, the aesthetic qualities of these as if they're characters, really, because I feel like they are very much characters included in the pack. I'm not going to chuck them in at the end just as accessories, because I feel like they're more than that. Starting with Yobbo. I mean, Yobbo is pretty straightforward. Single piece of plastic. There's no points of articulation in there, which is a little bit of a shame. But certainly well sculpted. You can see the fur detail in the sculpting there. The different shades, the lighter belly, the darker shading across the hands. I love the facial expression, very aggressive look there. The eye patch is a nice touch as well, and the paint applications are applied. The teeth look suitably sharp and pointy, and it appears that Yobbo's in a kind of sculpted shape to sit sort of mounted on the back of Porkbelly. Like so. Porkbelly's lovely too. We've obviously seen dogs, crocodiles, etc. already in the line, so we know that they've got a good grasp of what they're doing with the creatures, with the animals that they're including in the line. And we've got another great addition here. I love this texture detail for the kind of leathery warthog skin there, but again the shading's nice. You can see the darker back, then the darker belly, but with the lighter touches here in the furry bits around the edges, which is lovely. Sculpted detail on the mane, and do you call them sideburns on an animal? I'm calling them sideburns, little sideys there. Paint application on the eye, nice little detail touch. Got this kind of like little watery eye goopy thing that you often see on your zoo animals. So all lovely. So textured details in there. The tail's nice. If I turn Porkbelly round a little bit more like that as well, you can see we've got the bone colour on the tusks. We've got the nose ring, again with a nice bright standout sort of paint application around the other side here. There's an earring clamped into his ear, or is that maybe like a tracking tag? I don't know, but it's there, which is all nice. And then the mouth, which you can open and close. I'll talk about articulation in a minute. You can see the paint applications applied to the teeth and the tongue and the gums and stuff. So aesthetically, a very interesting creature to add to the animal lineup on G.I. Joe Classified. Yobbo, bit less blown away by, really, to be honest. I like what they were going for, but it falls a little bit short. Could have done with a wee touch more. So aesthetically, I'm still going to give Gnawgahyde, Porkbelly and Yobbo a thumbs up. What I like outweighs what I dislike, and it's mainly about the reuse, actually, that's affecting the visual experience. I just don't feel like down here, the boots just aren't right. Down here just doesn't look quite right. and the pins, which is not much of a drama for me, but I know for some people that's a deal breaker. So it's still a thumbs up on aesthetic, and the creatures, the animal companions there really take it to the next level. So yeah, into the visual look of Gnawgahyde, and the detailing on the top half is banging, absolutely banging. So there you go, there's your aesthetic overview. Let's now take a look at articulation and how they pose. And because, you know, a lot of it's reuse, most of you who've had previous G.I. Joes in your hand, G.I. Joe classifiers in your hand, you'll know the routine here. So starting up top, it's a ball and a hinge on the neck, actually, which caught me by surprise. There's a hinge under there. But what that does is it gives you really great down for your posing him, if you want to look down. Decent up, which I think may be the reason for the hinge, so you can do some sort of prone sniping shots maybe, all the way around, full 360, and then because of the ball, you've got a bit of movement on the top there, which allows you to pose him into some interesting hunter, tracker, predator-style poses. Then moving down into the arms, in the shoulders, you've got the butterfly joint giving you a bit of shuffle forward and back, which is nice for, you know, the type of weaponry poses you want to get him into. Pegged in, hinge and peg, so you've got the full 360, and then you can get him up into the T shape. Swivel at the top of the bicep and tricep. The pin double elbow that'll get you up to there. And then the pegged in hands, which give you the wrist swivel. And each of these have got a forward and back hinge as well. Ab crunch here across the torso, completely unimpeded. The vest doesn't get in the way at all. It's not like he's got a big flak jacket on or anything, which means you've got a really good crunch forward and a really decent crunch back. Although, as I've mentioned before, this type of cut there has a little bit of a visual impact and affects my visual enjoyment of the figure sometimes. And then you've got the ball waist there, giving you some nice turn and swivel and some motion in the waist. Standard G.I. Joe drop down in the groin area there. Although, just before we carry on, individual experience kind of review note here. Very, very stiff and gummy. In fact, the whole bottom half, I had to hairdry this one for ages and really work the joints, particularly around the knees and the groin here. And even still, if you can sort of see, you see that sort of gummy bounce back there. But it's the standard articulation. It's just kind of come out the factory that way. But you can see also, as I was trying to force it a little bit, I've ended up with some stress marks here around the groin too. So you know, your experience may differ. This could be just about the batch that I got, but I've had to spend a lot of time hair dry heating these joints, the thigh joints, the groins, the knees, to get them to be even vaguely like usable. But in any case, yeah, drop down joint there, giving you the forward, giving you the splits out, the Russian ballet splits. Got the thigh cut there at the top of the thigh, which you know, I like with G.I. Joe, gives you a wider range of motion there. Got the pin double knee, which now gets me up to here. Boot cut at the top of the boot. And then the hinge and rocker here at the ankles. Although, again, another posing note, these shin guards get in the way and don't give you all that great motion forward. And now pork belly, folks. So you can see there's a join here at the top of the head. That's on a peg and a ball. There, fitting this front facial point on. Then the neck point with a point of articulation there. Then a point of articulation in the torso, which gives you some sort of swivelly motion, a little bit of side-by-side stuff. You can, you know, swivel him in the middle. Doesn't quite feel as responsive articulation-wise as some of the dogs have done in the past. But I think that's more about the shape of a warthog's neck and head. Then you can see in the legs, you've got articulation in the shoulder and then articulation in the elbows and at the wrists here, or are they ankles? Should I be saying ankles if I'm referring to them as legs? And these can, you know, you got a bit of in and out motion there, and then you can bend them, you know, forward as like this, as I'm showing you now. So that gives you a little bit of option. Again, though, when comparing it to the dog's paws had a rocker on them, which these don't. So sometimes when you're sort of bringing the legs open wide, it looks like you can't quite get the hooves flat when you're displaying him. Tail's just pegged in, so you've got swivel. You can have it going up or going down. And then the last point of articulation here is in the mouth, so you can open it up like that. Exercise caution though, folks. This is, again, it may be a personal experience, but this is not firmly fitted on, and I've been knocking his jaw off, which gives you a great view of the attention to detail on the roof of the mouth there. Look at that. But the way that this is fitted on there, the little clamp in here doesn't hold it great. It's not a fantastic hinge, so you can't really go for a big old massive full-on like rah. Oh, see, look, it's falling out. So if you're looking to stop motion animate Porkbelly singing Hakuna Matata, you're not going to have much going on there. So I'm going to give these guys a tentative thumbs up when it comes to articulation. I like the G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation scheme. I think it opens up a world of possibility when it comes to posability of your figures, and you can do some interesting storytelling with your dioramas, with your displays, with your photographs, etc., etc. And I've had a lot of fun playing around with him. He's been my desk toy. I may have been concentrating on Gnawgahyde a bit more than my team's calls today, but I can't tell you how much kind of corrective heat action I had to do on these legs. They were really awful. The top of the knees here wouldn't move at all. I had to really bit of heat, bend it in, bit of heat, bend it in, manipulate it a bit. Like I say, I've got stress marks on the groin because I was a bit heavy-handed right out the box and really had to tidy that up. And it was frustrating. It was frustrating. So it's a tentative thumbs up because it is a good scheme, and your experience may differ, but I'm wavering a bit because my personal experience with this one particular figure was a little bit frustrating. All right, okay, well, there you go. There's articulation. Now let's take a look at the accessories. I'm going to get started then with the hat, the accessory that does a little something in terms of his visual identity. Obviously, Gnawgahyde, well known for his hat in the DIC cartoon. As you can see, it's a lovely fit on the top of his head here. Nicely sculpted. Got again the contoured detail in there, and the textured detail to make it look like one of those kind of well-worn leathery hats. Individual paint applications on all those teeth as well, and the rim. So really lovely, nice piece of work there. I'm very happy with the hat. Gnawgahyde then has two daggers. Pretty straightforward. We've seen these sorts of things in G.I. Joe Classified Series before. Nicely sculpted. I like the handles. I like the blades. Always happy when bladed weapons have this metallic blade paint application on the blade itself, so pleased with that. And these can both be stored on the figure. There's two sheaths, one ankle sheath there and one on his belt at the base of his back here. Then Gnawgahyde has this cool kind of wrist-mounted machete thing going on. This is kind of fun. Got these sort of plastic rings here to fit around the arm and the wrist, sorry. So you can mount it on the wrist. Nice sculpted detail in there. And the blade, again, has got the metallic paint job on it, which is lovely. Out the packaging, it's you can still see, I put a bit of heat on it to straighten it out, but it's still a bit kinked. I mean, out the packaging, it came out like that. But again, that might also be my aggressive unpacking method because I just sort of grabbed it straight out. So I've put some bit of heat on it to straighten it up. I'll get that done better, but I sort of left it as it was because I wanted to show you a more legitimate review. Look at that. But yeah, this is fun, looks great, and you can just fit it on around his wrist. There you go. So I've clamped it on like this. Yeah, and it's a nice touch. It's got a bit of character, a bit of personality. The implementation's not the best ever, but it really adds a bit of personality to his weaponry selection. And you can see here we've got gaps in the clamps there, so you can just kind of slam it on over his wrist. I think once I've reheated it in and sorted it out, it'll look a bit better. But I like that. Just a practical thinker is old Gnawgahyde. Do you know what I mean? Why hold it to cut your way through the underbrush when you can just strap it to your wrist and go hog wild on the jungle? Get rid of those vines so you can go catch your prey. Then we have the bow and quiver. These are reuse, repainted. They're in the green colour scheme, but they're reuse from the Shadow Tracker, the aforementioned Shadow Tracker. So all the same kind of features as before. The compound bow, it's got the little removable balance weight thing. You got a bit of flexibility in the string. As you can see, it's very bendy and wobbly, which was a criticism I had of the original on Shadow Tracker. Then the quiver fits on the back. It fits with a peg there. You've got this kind of contour bit, which I'll talk about in a moment. We've got this little clamp on the front there, which allows you to clamp the compound bow on like so. And then one of the arrows here is removable so that you can use it to pose him in a firing shot. We've got these other hoops on here. These are sort of legacy hoops from Shadow Tracker's accessory selection. I did kind of have a look to see if there was something that could be done with the wrist-mounted machete to hold it in there, but no, there's I can't figure it out if there's a way of making it work. Then somebody let me know, but yeah, I think these are just sort of legacy accessory hoops from Shadow Tracker. As far as the installation of the backpack on Gnawgahyde's back, I've got to say I think the implementation of this is a little bit of a letdown. So it's a back hole with a peg on the backpack, so you do the usual routine of kind of pegging it in there. But because of the way it's contoured, there's only so many certain kind of angles you can get it at. And if you've got him, I've got him sort of bent forward a little bit here, but if you put him at a full stood upright, you can see that this knife sheath there, it knocks it off the contour, so you can't get it neatly sort of nice on his shoulder. It's the peg hole is not deep enough to take the full peg, so you can't get it sitting flush, and it just sits very loose. It falls off all the time. Yeah, just the reuse backpack just seems really cheap and lazy there. It's not a good fit for how they've designed the figure. Then we have more reuse, more weapon reuse. This is the modular sniper rifle that came with low light originally, although they've changed the color scheme there, so it's black and green. So you've got the compressor on the front that comes on and off with a peg. You can take the bipod on and off from this clip here. You can take the scope off the top there with a little clip-on section, and then the magazine comes in and out. And this, of course, can be stored then in the case, just the same way as it used to be with low light. You've got the carved out shapes there to put in. Again, the color scheme has changed. Got this brown interior and this green exterior on that. I like it as a sort of a bit of a backpack. This does have a better fit on his back. I feel like he's pulling that off a little bit more, although in my photos I was having him carry it by the handle more often than not. But my criticisms of this are the same as when we got low light. It's thin, it's flimsy, it doesn't look particularly menacing, and I'd be less concerned about it looking menacing on low light than I am on Gnawgahyde. I feel like this guy needs just like a big old chunky elephant gun. You know, this guy's an animal hunter and needs to stop big prey in its tracks. You know what I mean? Look, the dude's been shooting leopards. Look at his vest, and that doesn't look like it's going to do the job. And it's just a bit kind of flimsy and crappy. And I find the scope is very loosely fitted on the top. So just the aesthetic of it doesn't add to the visual identity of the character. And while it's a gun and it's a snipery gun that you can see him using, it just doesn't. I just can't see Gnawgahyde seeing that. Going to his arms dealer and seeing that in a crate and going, oh, that's the gun for me. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't fit. It looks just in his hands, it just looks very thin and sort of disappears into him. Yeah, so there you go. I've just quickly chucked it in his hands. I'm not particularly finessed it or anything, but do you see what I mean? It just looks a bit, I don't know, just a bit wussy, a bit crap. It doesn't fit the personality or the kind of storytelling character that Gnawgahyde is putting out there in the world. I don't think. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree. But yeah, I'm not into it. So again, it's a very tentative thumbs up. In fact, I think I'm going to go in the middle on the accessory selection. Does it add value? Well, yeah, it adds value. You know, he's got knives, he's got guns, he's got his hat. Gnawgahyde needs his hat. He's got his compound bow. They tried to do something a little bit more interesting and personality filled with the wrist-mounted machete. But the implementation of them was bad the first time they were used. This is a bad example of reuse. This is not good weapon reuse. This is just lazy cutting corners. So I'm a bit underwhelmed by the accessory selection, if I'm being honest, and a bit like meh. I'll definitely be doing some weapon swaps with this bad boy, or looking at my Valaverse or other bits I've got knocking around in the bits box to better load him out, I think. Okay then, folks, well, here's the three of them making their way around on the turntable so you can get a full 360 view of the figures. As you can see, I've decked Gnawgahyde out with, I think there's a Valaverse 6-shooter there, and I don't know where that blade's come from. Is that from one of the ninjas or something? Just out of the bits box. And by sort of redecorating the weapons, I feel a bit happier with him. But I have to confess, final thoughts time, folks, I'm a little bit disappointed. I was so excited to have a new Dreadnok in the ranks. So excited to see some more animal companions. I just recently rewatched the DIC cartoon for a bit of research I was doing for some other kind of G.I. Joe adjacent G.I. Joe classified adjacent videos I was working on. So I'd seen all the goofy, daft stuff around Gnawgahyde and loved it for its goofiness and daftness. And so getting him in hand and just finding that the loadout's a bit pants, which I sort of knew, I suspected before it even got here, to be honest. So maybe I'm a little bit biased, perhaps. That my expectations get the better of me, but then the bottom half, these feet, they really, like when you just notice something, you just kind of lock in on it, and then you start obsessing about it, and then you can't stop. I think I've got myself in a bit of a position with that, especially because I had to do a lot of work with the legs to get them to even articulate properly, So little bits of disappointment creeping in there, but the top half is amazing, and overall I have to confess, even despite those comments, getting him in display with some folks like Shadow Trackers, Artan, had him out with Zorana a bit earlier on today on my desk, looked good. He does look the part. I think you've just got to kind of dive into your spare or unused weapons, or look at some weapon packs from the likes of Gridiron and Valorverse and kind of kit him out a bit better of your own accord, which you really shouldn't have to do, I suppose. I've got all this stuff here now that's just going to go in a drawer unused, and that's a shame, that's not added value. So there we go. All right, well, folks, hopefully all that information has given you enough of a thorough overview that if you're thinking about getting a Gnawgahyde of your own, you can make a decision, or if you've got him on pre-order, whether to keep the pre-order or cancel it, all that good stuff. So thank you so very much for choosing my video. There's so many reviewers out there. You could have picked anybody, and you chose me, and I'm eternally grateful. My grateful thanks to you for taking the time to use me as your source of information. Please do the like if you have found this useful. If you haven't, then hit the dislike, but make sure you press it twice to make sure, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful week, and you'll come back around these parts again for another video sometime soon. All right, folks, take it easy.